ومن أخطر ما ينادي به الأشرار اليوم من دعاة الضلال تأثرا بدعوة الكفار نزع الحجاب عن المرأة. يريدون أن المرأة تنزع الحجاب الذي أمرها الله به وأمرها به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، الذي فيه صيانتها وكرامتها وحفظها. ينادون الآن بنزع الحجاب، وأن تكون المرأة المسلمة مثل المرأة الكافرة. يريدون أن تنزل المرأة المسلمة من عليائها وكرامتها وتكون مثل المرأة الكافرة، مبتذلة مهانة، لا يحفظ لها كرامة. ما دامت المرأة عندهم شابة يستمتعون بها بالحلال والحرام ولا يصونونها، وإذا كبرت سنها ألقوها في الملاجئ، ما له أسرة، ما له بيت، ما له أولاد، تلقى في الملاجئ وتلقى في بيوت المسنين، ما له من يراعيها، أو تعيش وحدها ما عندها أنيس، تمرض وتموت ما يدرى عنها، ليس عندها إلا كلب تربيه يونسها الكلب. هذه المرأة عند الكفار وفي الغرب. أما المرأة عند المسلمين فكما تعلمون المرأة سيدة البيت، راعية البيت، مربية الأولاد، حافظة لمال زوجها، لها سيادة ولها مكانة، مكرمة مصونة، لا تسافر إلا ومعها ذو محرم يمشي معها، ما يحميها ويحفظها ويخدمها، ما تختلط مع الرجل، ما تخلو مع رجل لا يحل، ما تخلو إلا مع رجل من محارمها أو رجل تحل له كزوجه، مصونة، لا تختلط مع الرجال وتزاحم الرجال. هذه المرأة المسلمة التي تحتفظ بكرامتها ومكانتها عزتها. ولذلك صار مجتمع المسلمين ولله الحمد مجتمعا طاهرا نزيها. الرجال يعرفون أعمالهم والنساء تعرف أعمالها، وكل يقوم بعمله اللائق به، ويحصل التعاون. إذا ضيعت المرأة وأخرجت عن طبيعتها ضاع المجتمع، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. وليس ذلك في صالح المرأة، هذا مضرة على المرأة، مضرة على المرأة، إنها تشتغل طول النهار في العمل، تكد وتكدح في المصانع، في المتاجر، في الوظيفة، وهي امرأة ضعيفة تحيض وتحمل وتمرض، ما تستطيع. فهم يريدون أن يغيروا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها، لكن أنى لهم ذلك؟ لا تبديل لخلق الله أبدا. الله خلق الرجال وخلق النساء وأعطى كلا ما يليق به، فليحاول يغير خلق الله لن يستطيع هذا. فعلى المسلمين أن يتنبهوا لذلك وما يراد بهم.
Well, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. I see Brother Muhammad is probably in the background and is not joining me in the studio. Am I correct, Muhammad? Are you there or you are in the background studio? Just give me a notification because I can't clearly see you. I don't know if you're remaining in the background or you'll be joining me this evening. But if not, that's fine. And then we'll have a continuation of the discussion today in terms of what is going on and what is happening around the world, particularly in Gaza. specifically in relation to this. I see it's been advertised as a Gaza crisis, but in reality, it's not a crisis, not a hunger crisis. It's actually a starvation genocide that's taking place. And we all know this is a starvation genocide. This is not a hunger crisis at all. We're going to basically start off with a discussion of what essentially happened. So basically, you had an organization that is basically running aid in Gaza right now called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. That's an American organization based in Delaware that was established in February 2025 to distribute humanitarian aid, so-called humanitarian aid during this genocide that's taking place. It was led by an individual called Jake Wood. Now, Jake Wood was a former military veteran. He was a Marine. He was involved in some capacity in the Iraq War, in some capacity. He's not a guy that comes with a good credentials. And what then happened was that basically he stayed with them, and he set up and was part and parcel of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But he resigned. So I want people to know that this organization that is purportedly delivering aid in Gaza, called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, one of the executive directors is an individual called Jake Wood. And Jake Wood has now resigned in May 2025 because the group itself has been criticized by the United Nations and humanitarian groups for politicizing aid distribution and for basically using aid as a weapon of war, bearing in mind that it has the full support of the Trump administration and the Israeli government. Anything that is supported by the Trump administration and the Israeli government cannot be positive in the long term. The aim of the Israeli government is not to provide food. The aim of the Israeli government is to massacre and kill. The aim of the Trump administration is not to help people in the third world. It's to destroy lives of individuals. So, due to the various checkpoints, due to the fact that, since March, basically, and much of 2024, but more particularly since the beginning of March, there was a total blockade of starvation right up until the 26th of May. So March, April, May, there was total blockade. No food was coming in. No humanitarian aid was starting. And so you had a situation that this foundation was then created, and it purportedly started having operations only at only at 4 sites, but only 2 of which were operational. Prior to that, you had something like 400 distribution centers throughout Gaza by various humanitarian organizations. But as at the May 26th, 2025, for the first time, a new distribution center was set up in Rafah. And basically what they started off was they distributed something like 8,000 food boxes, which, don't amount to much. And that was supposed to only feed approximately about 40 to 30,000 people for half a week. That's, not even 2% of Gaza's population. What's now happened is that since the 27th of May, hundreds of Palestinians that have been going to this particular distribution center have been murdered and wounded by Israeli gunfire as they've approached these aid distribution sites in Rafah in the Gaza Strip, backed by the United States Humanitarian Foundation. On the 27th of May, you had a situation that 10 Palestinians were murdered and 62 were wounded. That's on the 27th of May. That was reported on the 28th of May. Israel killed 10 desperate aid seekers. And then on the 1st of June, that is just, I think, on, what are we? Today's on Tuesday. When was the 1st of June? The 1st of June was, I think, on 7, 6, 5, 4, I think Monday or Tuesday, where you had a situation where approximately, or Sunday last week, 31 were murdered and 170 were injured, again by the Israeli Defense Forces. Of course, the Israeli Defense Force initially denied it and then claimed that they had fired warning shots. But, United Nations officials have now stated that most of the injuries and the killings were caused solely by Israeli military gunshots. And that incident basically took place on the first day of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation operation. That was the very first day. The very first day. So there was an 11-week Israeli blockade. An 11-week Israeli blockade since March 2025 that had severely cut off all humanitarian aid, already exacerbating the humanitarian crisis and adding to the genocide. And then the very first week that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation had opened this, they killed people. They essentially killed people. So these killings were then basically taking place at this particular point in time. And this is directly as a result of the Israeli Defense Force killings happening. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that you can basically attribute this at all other than the particular killings that have basically taken place. So we're going to basically unpack this. But before we unpack this, lest people assume that this is being made up, because a lot of the Israelis have suggested, or propagandists out there, that this was not basically the Israelis, it was Hamas that was involved in it. Now we've got a situation where a CNN review, based on eyewitness testimonies, based on video evidence and expert analysis, found that the shots were fired by the Israeli army at a location where the GHF operated. So there's clearly no doubt that the Israeli army killed them. And I want people to, Mohammed, share this link, the StreamYard link, so that people can basically know that essentially we mean business this evening, and we don't want any bullshitters coming out there. But come and join us if you want to challenge this. I want to share the CNN link that essentially shows that basically it's the Israeli Defense Force that has been behind this. Here's a report. I want you to share this, Mohammed. This is a report. If you can share this to the screen. And this is the article. It's called here, Death. Let me just go to this, if you can see this here. Where are we? If I can open this. Is the report being shared? Let me go to the StreamYard studio. Here we are, yeah. Here's it here. It's called Death and Hunger. Video expert analysis and witnesses point to Israeli gunfire in Gaza aid-site shooting. This is the CNN report. So sit back and have a look at the CNN analysis that actually points, CNN pointing to Israeli gunfire in area around the Gaza aid site and not Hamas. And of course, then we will go into this new gang, this ISIS gang that is being supported by the Netanyahu government, the Netanyahu illegitimate regime, and the Trump administration. Sit back and I want you to watch this. And you let me know your thoughts on this as I expand the screen. Here we are.
Automatic gunfire crackle overhead. Others try and crawl to safety as explosions ring out. For several hours on Sunday, this was the terrifying reality hungry Gazans faced as they tried to reach an American-backed humanitarian aid site in southern Gaza. We are bringing our food drenched in blood. We are dying to get food, Amin Khalifa says amid a hail of gunfire. The aftermath is grisly. Bullet-riddled bodies lie scattered on the beach. As others emerge carrying sacks of aid these men died trying to get. Health officials and doctors report at least 31 were killed. 17 eyewitnesses told CNN it was the Israeli military that opened fire on the crowd. A CNN analysis of video from the scene, audio of gunfire, and ballistics evidence all point to the Israeli military. In Gaza, more families made to mourn. They lure us in just to kill us there, this man says. What's happening is wrong, wrong. Why? Why are they doing this? We go there just to get our daily bread, and they kill us. In the pre-dawn hours of Sunday, masses of Palestinians began trekking down Al-Rashid Street, hoping to be among the first to reach the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site in Tal al-Sultan before limited aid supplies run dry. But as they reach the Al-Alam roundabout, a hail of gunfire forces people to the ground. Eyewitnesses say much of the gunfire came...
So it's gunfire. This is gunfire, Israeli gunfire.
From tank-mounted machine guns.
So, in fact, they stated that these are from tank-mounted machine guns belonging to the Israeli military.
We asked a forensic audio expert to analyze the gunfire in that video, and this analysis shows bursts of gunfire at a rate of 15 rounds per second. Weapons experts say that's consistent with the FN MAG, a machine gun used by the Israeli military and commonly mounted on Israeli tanks.
Can you see what he says? That's Jeremy Diamond, the same guy that exposed the scam and these lies of tunnels and underground tunnels, that there were no, under certain hospitals, there were no weapons cache or weapon storage or anything along that line. That's Jeremy Diamond. Have a listen to what he says again. I want you to listen to what he says. Just go back if I can here. Here we are.
A machine gun used by the Israeli military and commonly mounted on Israeli tanks. Those experts say that rate of fire also appears to rule out weapons used commonly by Hamas. And then you have bullets like this one, which doctors at Nasser Hospital pulled from the bodies of the dead and the wounded. Weapons experts also say this bullet is consistent with the FN MAG.
The Israeli military said they did not fire at civilians while they were near or within the aid site. But that statement is misleading. An Israeli military official acknowledged Israeli troops did fire toward people about 1 kilometer away from the aid site, the Al-Alam roundabout where people were killed.
So can you see the contradictory reports again? Did you catch that? That the Israeli official now is saying that they did fire, and one is saying they didn't. They confirmed that they did. And then, so there were different stories. The first time they blamed Hamas. The second time they state there were threats. And the third time they confirm that they did in fact fire.
Is also about 1 kilometer away from the site. This entire area, with an Israeli military base right here, is under Israeli control. This post warns the Israeli military would be active in the area at the time of the shooting. It's from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which operates the aid site and closely coordinates with the IDF, alerting Palestinians that using the passage before 5 a.m. is prohibited. But they posted it at 4 a.m. as people were already being fired upon.
Ya Allah.
So imagine that. They're posting this after people are being fired at, after people have been killed, and stating this is an active Israeli presence there. There's an Israeli presence that's going to kill you. And that's a site where you're going to go and collect food. I mean, you can't make this up. I don't know who's a truth seeker, but come and justify this kind of behavior. What are you trying to do? Whoever you are, if you're an Israeli supporter, come and justify your position as to how you would support mass murder and killing of starving people.
Eyewitnesses described volleys of Israeli military gunfire from snipers, tanks, and drones beginning as early as 3 a.m. on Sunday. More were shot at 4:30 a.m. Others described being shot as late as 6:30 in the morning. They were shooting directly at us everywhere, this man says, from the sea, from snipers, and from all directions. 4 people were injured, and 1 was immediately killed. I tried to stand up and escape or go back, but I was hit in my left side. I've seen a lot of soldiers in this war. When they want to clear an area or warn you, they shoot around you. But yesterday, they were shooting to kill us.
So these people are coming for food, and these Israeli bastards, these Israeli soldiers, are shooting them directly.
At Nasser Hospital, fear and pain are still etched across the face of 13-year-old Yazid Musleh, who was wounded by gunfire from a tank his father and brother say was stationed near the aid site. I saw the tank from afar, Ihab says. He was standing, waving his hands to the tank, and within seconds, gunfire was directed at him, and he was lying on the ground. 2 days later, despite the dangers, tens of thousands of Palestinians continued to stream towards that same aid site, a testament to the hunger and desperation still gripping so many. And once again, in the early hours of Tuesday, dozens were killed en route. This time, the Israeli military acknowledging it fired warning shots and then opened fire, claiming...
So now, what threat did these people pose? So now it's admitting it fired warning shots. Warning shots for what? These are hungry people looking for food. What are you going to fire warning shots? And then you open fire and kill them? I mean, you guys are murderers. Murderers. And you know, the problem, anyone who's a Christian or a pro-Zionist that supports the Israeli regime for this, you ought to hang your head in shame. You pathetic, you evil, and you sick, and you satanic. There is no other word to describe you. So if you're supporting this Nazi fascist-like regime, then you are satanic yourself.
Suspects advanced towards troops in a threatening manner. The military said it was looking into reports of casualties. It need look no further than this boy crying out over his mother's body, begging her to wake up. Today, she went to get aid. She went to get aid to feed us, he cries. And this is what they do to us? The Americans said, come to the safe area to get your aid. Who should trust them? As for Amin Khalifa, the man who documented Sunday's gunfire, his quest for survival ended abruptly on Tuesday. He was killed while trying to reach that aid site once again.
So this is a guy, look at this. Old. He's the guy that basically, and he was killed. He was killed the following day. Here we are. Let's just go and check him out again.
To us, the Americans said, come to the safe area to get your aid. Who should trust them? As for Amin Khalifa, the man who documented Sunday's gunfire, his quest for survival...
Amin Khalifa, that's his name. He documented Sunday's gunfire and shooting, and the next day he's killed.
Ended abruptly on Tuesday. He was killed while trying to reach that aid site once again. He was 30 years old.
The Israeli military declined to answer questions related to our findings, but as recently as...
Why are they declining to answer questions? But we've had over the months, past couple of months, we've had useful idiots coming onto this platform and attempted to answer phone on behalf of the Israeli military. So they know more sitting in some cocoon-like lounge suite, wherever they are, in the United Kingdom, in America. They can answer phone on behalf of the Israeli regime, this bastard nation. But the Israelis themselves will refuse to answer. Amazing. Amazing.
Tuesday, the Israeli military's top spokesman, General Efi Defrin, categorically denied that the Israeli military opened fire on Sunday, saying it, quote, simply didn't happen. But after a week during which more than 60 people were killed while trying to make it to that aid site, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation now says it is having conversations with the Israeli military to, quote, support civilian safety. Among them, a spokesman tells me that they are asking the Israeli military...
So why would you have conversations with them if they are the ones that are denying that anything happened and denying it completely? Amazing.
To, quote, enhance force training and refine internal IDF procedures.
So that's the report from CNN, Death and Hunger Video Analysis. This is a report. More than a dozen eyewitnesses said Israeli troops shot at crowds in volleys of gunfire that occurred sporadically during the early hours of Sunday morning. And this is basically, this is on June 5th, but this deals with last week. Multiple videos geolocated by CNN placed a gunfire near roundabouts where hundreds of Palestinians had gathered away from militarized area. The designated route is an area under Israel's military control, and Israeli troops operate at a base nearby. So it can't be Hamas shooting. Unless if you're saying it's Hamas, then what, Israel, they don't have control of the area? They don't have control of... What nonsense is this? What nonsense is this? This is Amin Khalifa, who filmed himself taking cover as gunfire erupted near the Alam roundabout. And then on Tuesday, he was unfortunately murdered. Weapons experts said that the rate of gunfire, as well as the image of bullets retrieved from victims from their bodies after they were killed, were consistent with machine guns used by the Israeli military that can be mounted on tanks. Multiple eyewitnesses said that they saw gunfire emanating from Israeli tanks nearby. None of the videos definitely show who fired shots outside their camp. However, CNN's review of audiovisual material sheds fresh light on how the pursuit of aid turned chaotic and dangerous on the actions of the Israeli forces and the consequences of the new aid mechanism, which had been mired in controversy. The Israeli force said on Sunday its forces did not fire at the civilians whilst they were nearby. But they lied, because the Israeli military source later stated that they did fire warning shots in inverted commas. Amazing. And then, of course, they declined to answer and response to CNN's questions. So this is basically what's happening. Thousands of starving Palestinians are being murdered, being butchered, being killed. What's their crime? Their crime is that they're hungry. They want to basically go. And this is the area. They initially denied firing, and then later they acknowledged that they did open fire. But then they said, no, it's just warning shots. What rubbish is this? So here's the image. This was the pre-dawn. This is a street. This is all under Israeli control. And around 5 a.m., videos capture Palestinians taking cover amid repeated bursts of gunfire as they were going to basically kill and to get the food, and then the Israelis are killing them. The Israelis murder them in cold blood. An attempt to advance sight. I could hear screams of young people from injuries. 4 young men with direct injuries to the head. There was a person next to me who was injured by a bullet in the eye. This is insane. And we've discussed these kind of massacres all along. This is a report from CNN. Doctors working at NASA shared photos with CNN of the bullets retrieved, which weapons experts say appear to match the type of ammunition used in Israel's military machine guns. The bullet is consistent with the NATO standard, which would be fired by the IDF. Here it is here. You can't make this up, folks. Here's your evidence. This is the evidence. So the first day that this happened, they were shot at. And we told that these are not isolated incidences. The chaos in early Sunday morning was not isolated. In consecutive days since Palestinians attempting to go have been murdered by the Israelis. On Tuesday, nearly 30 people were killed and dozens wounded whilst making to the aid sites in Tel al-Sultan in Rafah. The Israeli military side that it opened fire multiple times. So, what are we doing? The Israeli military acknowledged firing, but now it says fired warning shots. So this is one report. This is one report. Now, if you think CNN is not good enough for your liking, by these psychopaths that are out there that are questioning this, well, then let me give you something else. Let me give you something else to bite on, and this is the Channel 4 report. This is a Channel 4 report. If I can see this, this is a Channel 4 report. I'm going to go to the Channel 4 report. The Channel 4 report, it's another independent news station in the United Kingdom. Independent, unlike the BBC and all the rest. And this is what I'm going to show you, how Israel's aid plan for Gaza, the so-called aid plan, which is not an aid plan, it's basically a plan for killing and mass murder. It's a death camp. How that in fact led to more and more killing. This is a report which gives you a kind of a more systematic approach whereby the separate incidents of mass violence on consecutive days killed at least more than 100 Palestinians the past week, just by going to this specific aid site. So have a look at this. I'm going to try and expand this. Let me just try and go here. and then I'm going to share this here. And if anyone wants to join us this evening, it's Eid, by the way, in South Africa. Well, Eid has obviously finished because today's the next day, but this is what I want to share with you, and have a look at what Channel 4 says. If you don't trust CNN or Al Jazeera, this is Channel 4. This is Channel 4, an independent news outlet that is not pro-Palestinian at all. Channel 4. BBC has been accused of being biased, both sides. Well, this is from Channel 4. Have a look at this and listen to this. If I can share this, Mohammed, on your screen. Do we have it on the studio screen there? Yeah, here we are. I'm going to just expand this and let's play this. Here we are.
They queued all night, desperate for food, and came under fire. More than 60 people reported killed, eyewitnesses say by Israeli gunfire and weaponized drones, in separate deadly incidents during a week of aid chaos in Gaza. The victims, Palestinians traveling to depots they were told would provide...
So just look at the time as they were killed.
During a week of aid chaos in Gaza.
2:30 a.m., 3:30 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. This is basically the shootings and the killings that take place.
The victims, Palestinians traveling to depots they were told would provide help. Aid stations set up by the Israelis and backed by the US. A system that began under a cloud of controversy and criticism and is now at the center of 2 mass killings. This is how an Israeli-US aid plan led to tragedy in Gaza. Day 1 of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's operations, May 27th.
So this was on the 27th of May, the very first time that the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, it's like a Blackwater outfit, because the guys that were involved in this were involved in the Blackwater special ops killings, and these were military personnel. Jake Wood was a military personnel involved in the Iraq War. He's now resigned in May. He resigned before the killings on the 25th of May because he stated that this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which the psychopathic Trump and Netanyahu is backing, is actually not providing aid in accordance with the relief and international humanitarian law. Rather, it is like a specific setup, like a PSYOPS operation, and the real aim is not to provide aid, but the real aim is to get the Palestinians down so that they can be easily killed and targeted once they are at a particular zone.
This hub in the far south opens its doors. It does so after a week where just a trickle of aid has entered Gaza following a near 3-month blockade. The idea had been for nominated family representatives to collect food from GHF aid sites, an idea that evaporated in the face of huge crowds competing for limited supplies. In the lead-up, the plan had been criticized by the UN and other bodies as unworkable and politicized. The head of the organization, Jake Wood, quit before the program had even begun.
That's him. That's the guy. That's the guy that we're talking about.
By the UN and other bodies as unworkable and politicized.
Humanitarian groups, UN heavily criticized new aid distribution plan in Gaza. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation politicizes aid. It's like basically, it's a weaponization of aid, essentially.
The head of the organization.
Why has it been criticized, has been denounced and called a politicization of aid in Gaza.
Jake Wood quit.
And that's a guy there. The head of the controversial UN, citing concerns of independence and empire. The very head, the CEO, the executive director of this particular group stated that you just cannot operate this in Gaza because it's weaponization of aid. It's not independent. It's not impartial. It's basically being used as a tool for killing. And he resigned. The guy who started this off was the executive director, resigned. Why are you backing this when the guy himself, if your company is going to cause destruction and mayhem, why would you back it? You'd obviously bring it to an end. So this guy resigned, says you cannot be part of this at all.
Before the program had even begun. Initially, people had been reluctant to come here. The process included biometric measurement. Hamas had urged resistance against what it called an Israeli intelligence operation.
Look at this. They've been kept like in like literal concentration camps, like penned up. They penned up in this fashion. This is what aid. You treat people like animals, like pen. You know, we were at the Qurbani. This is how the sheep were kept in pens, going for a slaughter. This is Qurbani, so-called Bakri Eid or Eid ul-Adha. where you go and put these sheep in a pen. Many people don't even know the nature or the purpose of sacrifice. But if you look at the sheep, those of you who actually went in South Africa and the UK, I don't know whether when you commemorated it, whether it's yesterday or today, whatever the case is, but the sheep are kept in pens like this. Look at these people here, and look at these two dogs right at the outside. These are like these guys in masks. These people are being kept in pens, and they're being sent to the slaughter. They're being sent for the qurbani. They're being sent to be slaughtered, not to be given food, to be slaughtered.
Israel has denied that, and in any
Look at this. This is human.
case, soon enough, any idea of control was disappearing.
The Americans started shooting, then the Israelis. He said the Americans, more than 28, and then the tank climbed the hill and started shooting.
Desperation for food apparent across Gaza, not just at the sites provided by the GHF. Just a day after
Wednesday, the 28th of May. And you hear the term Yajuj or Majuj. I don't know who's speaking, Gog and Magog.
the GHF opened its doors, a warehouse storing flour operated by the UN's World Food Programme is overrun. 2 are killed in the crush, 2 die of gunshot wounds. This
is Thursday, the 29th of May.
The Gaza market on May 29th. Armed men steal any food they can find.
And you know these armed men they're talking about, we're going to come to that shortly, Abu Shahab. These are gangs. Gangs, ISIS gangs. ISIS is a death cult. ISIS rapes. ISIS is the anti-Islamic state, not the Islamic state. It's a death cult that is a product of the Iraq war and, of course, the Syrian war. It's a death cult. But ISIS has had and maintained links with the Israeli regime for a number of years. We all know about that. They still do. And in fact, in Syria, they were being armed by the Israelis. They were receiving humanitarian assistance by the Israelis. I mean, ask yourself this question. Which country in the Middle East has ISIS not wreaked havoc in? Which country? It's wreaked havoc in the Iraq, which is linked to Iran's wrecked. There's pockets of ISIS. Of course, the Saudi regime is extremely brutal in terms of political dissidence, but it's wreaked havoc in almost every part of the Muslim world in the Middle East, well, at least in the Middle East, in Africa. The only country that ISIS has not wreaked havoc in, and that ISIS and that Israelis do not raise concerns about ISIS, which is indeed a death cult, is Israel. The Israelis mention Hamas, they mention Hezbollah, and every other group and organization. They mention the Houthis, who have done a remarkable job in stopping these so-called business deals and transactions. And the only group or movement that seems to be kosher to the Israelis is ISIS. So these gangs that are operating in Gaza, and many of these are in fact ISIS gangs, or gangs linked to ISIS, backed by Netanyahu, and now we've discovered, and we're going to show how. And they've been certainly taking aid and, of course, adding to the mayhem.
The same location moments later. An Israeli strike targeting the Hamas security forces who'd been sent to stop the looting.
So the security forces were there to stop the looting that was being conducted by ISIS gangs. And then the Israeli forces killed them.
GHF provides limited supplies and the system remains chaotic. Before the war, the UN says 500 to 600 trucks entered Gaza every day. Now it's in the tens. GHF claims it distributes thousands of boxes a day, but relies on hungry people walking long distances into Israeli military.
How do you walk from north of Gaza if you're crippled, you got no food, you're already starving, or all your family have been murdered? How do you go to these places? So this is a counterproductive exercise.
Military zones. Traditional supply chains continue to struggle with the sheer need and
I mean, there are genuine humanitarian organizations that are not being allowed into the area. and Israel is stopping them completely. Why is it relying on this particular death cult and this movement, which is just causing mayhem and destruction?
Ongoing disorder. On May the 31st, World Food Programme workers appeal for people to take just a sack of flour each after a convoy of 77.
And what do you deal with flour? If you take dry flour, what are you going to do with it? No oil. How are you going to cook with just dry flour? There's no water. The water is toxic. What are you going to do with dry flour? Eat dry flour? What are you going to do with it? How do you cook? You've got no cooking utensils. So who are you fooling when you're giving dry flour to people and they can't do anything with dry flour? Let's assume you're giving pasta to people that you can't cook, hard pasta. How do you eat this? Where are you going to cook it?
7 trucks is stopped and looted.
Ya Allah.
And then the first major incident at a GHF distribution centre. On Sunday, before dawn, thousands try to get to the site in Rafah and come under sustained fire. Gaza's civil defence says 31 people are killed and scores injured. Doctors at Al Nasser Hospital back up those claims.
What we do know is that 28 people have been brought here to Nasser dead. We have 5 patients currently who are brain dead, and we have over
5 patients who are brain dead.
100 patients here in the emergency
department. They shot in the head. Listen to what she says. People out there, listen to what she says. Any Israelis, pro-Israel, well, the Israeli supporters are too scared. We had quite a few Israeli supporters that used to come on this platform in the past. They've died. Either they've died or they're spiritually dead. They don't want to come on anymore. Listen to her.
We have 5 patients currently who are brain dead, and we have over 200 patients here in the emergency department with injuries, most of which are gunshot injuries.
So what happened in the early hours of June the 1st? GHF has established 4 what it calls safe distribution sites inside Gaza. On Sunday morning, only one, SDS-1, is due to open at 6 a.m. But from midnight, already thousands of people are gathering at a junction just over a kilometre away. Many, we're told, had travelled from the far north of the Strip. As more locals arrive, pressure to get to the front intensifies. Witnesses tell us the crowd moves slowly southwards. A tank near the site fires warning shots. Quadcopters first broadcast verbal warnings, then shoot warning shots. At around 3:30, we're told there is chaos. Crowds running back and forth, soldiers, tanks and naval boats all firing. This is when the first gunshot injuries are reported. An hour later, the crowd, now the biggest since the start of the GHF operations, surges for the aid site. It's at this point the majority of killings take place. Even then, many still try to reach the site, hundreds doing so around 5 a.m., stripping it bare, witnesses say, within minutes.
Why are the Israelis firing on us? And I mean, I see someone in the chat, I don't know who this guy, Truth Seeker, but he's talking about the Palestinians killed Jews cruelly or some Muslims killed. Rubbish. What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about? Where did they kill Jews cruelly? Stop talking rubbish. Come on this platform and debate if you want to debate me. Come and debate me. Come on this. We'll give you an opportunity to come on. I don't know who you are. If you are one of the other guys that has come in the past, you've been there. I don't know what your name is. You know, people come with nom de guerre or pseudonyms and so on and so forth. But what are you talking about? The Israelis are murdering Palestinians in cold blood. Now, by raising the idea that some Muslims kill Jews cruelly, what are you trying to do? You're trying to provide some sort of false justification for what you're seeing here. And let's assume that did in fact happen, which it didn't. But let's assume it did happen. What makes Israel murdering, and we've discussed so many massacres over the past several months, what makes Israel murdering Palestinians in cold blood acceptable now? Just explain that. Explain that situation to me. What makes it acceptable? This is what I want to try and understand. What makes it acceptable? People were just lying in the streets, children and women. What are you talking about?
كثير كان اصابات على البحر كانوا يرتموا وناس قدامنا بالصاب مش عارفين نسعفهم. اذا انت رحت سعفت حتصابب. لكن ضلك يعني قعدنا يمكن بالساعتين مفتوحين على الارض.
The ICRC field hospital receives nearly 180 injured, the majority with
the International Committee for the Red Cross, by the way.
Gunshot or shrapnel wounds.
So the majority is by gunshot and shrapnel wounds. So they're being deliberately killed by live bullets, live rounds. What's the aim of this? What's the purpose of this?
GHF claims reports of injuries, fatalities or incidents during its operations are egregious fabrications.
So look at the GHF, which is, like I mentioned, an extension of this Israeli military, and they're denying it. But the Israelis later confirmed that they did it. Then they denied it as well. Then they confirmed that they did it. Then they denied it. Then they said that no, they only fired warning shots. Then they denied it and said it's some other movement. Then they provided footage which was nothing to do with the GHF site. And then CNN burst their bubble by confirming that it is indeed the IDF that is shooting and murdering these civilians that are basically going and seeking for food. And I mean, they've been killing them. Why are people even denying this any longer? The Israelis killed deliberately, like they shot those ambulances a couple of months back, like they're shooting people generally. Like they shot about, I think, 60 people just these past 2 days. We'll come to that story. But let's just finish this.
And the Israeli military tells us that the IDF did not fire at civilians while they were near or within the aid site. An official instead saying warning shots were fired when troops were advanced upon a kilometer away.
Troops were advanced upon by who? Troops were advanced. So these people didn't go for food. Look at them. They didn't go. They went to advance on the Israelis.
Away, giving no further comment when asked if civilians had been hit.
What about the children and the women and the babies? Were they also advancing to fight the Israeli bastards? Were they doing that as well?
What we've heard is very clear, that there was an invitation to attend the food aid location. As folk were making their invited way there, they were attacked somewhere between the beach and the coast road by drones. We heard by naval gunfire.
By drones, naval gunfire.
We've heard by tanks.
Israeli force.
So drones, naval gunfire, tanks. So they were invited. Listen to this doctor. He's an orthopedic surgeon. Listen to him carefully, please, people.
Somewhere between the beach and the coast road by drones. We heard by naval gunfire. We've heard by tanks.
Israeli forces, obviously.
Israeli forces.
You catch that? You catch that? Who's behind it? Israeli forces. Israeli forces.
What we've heard is very clear, that there was an invitation to attend the food aid location.
Invitation to attend the food aid location provided by this the sinister, dark organization called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. When you're invited there, you are basically put in a pen, like how we put the sheep in the pen, and then you're murdered. So what is this? This is an invitation to slaughter. It's an Israeli invitation to mass murder. How can you come here and deny and justify this?
As folk were making their invited way there, they were attacked somewhere between the beach and the coast road by drones. We heard by naval gunfire. We've heard by tanks.
Israeli forces, obviously.
Israeli forces, not by gangs or any other armed groups.
Criticism compounded because NGOs...
This is one point. I'm just seeing some of the comments. Truth Seeker, I don't know who you are. We've had someone called Truth Seeker in the past. See, this is the point. When you come under strange names, we don't know who you are. So we make certain assumptions. Now you say you condemn Israel. Well, then good. We also condemn Israel. We had someone in the past called Truth Seeker. Apparently his name was Chris. He was a troublemaker, a thug from Speaker's Corner. He came once or twice, so I assumed you were him. I don't know this guy personally. I don't know these blokes. I don't generally debate them. I won't put them on an equal platform as I do, but I will entertain them in terms of asking questions and humiliating and educating them here. So I assumed you were him. If you're not him, I apologize. But, you know, it creates a confusion for us. We don't know who people are. And we are, you know, forgive us if you view us as being paranoid, both myself and Mohammed. We've been attacked on social media. Our accounts have been shut down. My Facebook account, I can no longer access it any longer. It's been totally locked out. I can't access my X. I can't access other social media outlets. So forgive us if we are suspicious, but we've taken a kind of a hardline approach to anyone who comes on an anonymous basis and makes ambiguous statements. So if I'm wrong, I apologize because I don't know what your position is, but I assumed you were someone else. But just to clarify the point, because I did put tell Mohammed at the outset to put out an invite to all Islamophobes and pro-Israeli supporters and Zionists to come and defend the Israeli position. I don't think any of them want to come or have the ability to come on any longer, in view of the facts that we present week in and week out. So that's a reality. But coming back to what we are saying and what this doctor is suggesting.
Including the UN, had been operating aid delivery in Gaza for decades before.
So this is a guy here.
Groups.
Criticism compounded because NGOs, including the UN, had been operating aid delivery in Gaza for decades before.
Where we need to go back to...
So if a group has been operating in Gaza, if this was really about aid, why don't you let genuine humanitarian organizations and food programs into the area? Why have a shadowy outfit, which is basically now being viewed as a trap to entrap Palestinians and mass murder them? Explain that.
Is to allow organizations like UNRWA to do what it does best. That is mass deliveries of humanitarian supplies, opening the borders so that there's basic supplies going into Gaza.
Then on the morning of June the 2nd, another incident along the same aid corridor. This time 3 people are killed. The Israeli Foreign Ministry's response,
I love you, Trump. Good luck.
To release images of people returning to GHF sites, saying they speak louder than Hamas propaganda and media lies.
So this is a propaganda that the GHF pulls out, that these people, we don't even know what context and situation, stating, I love you, Trump. These Palestinians have been massacred, and shamelessly and shamefully, you put out propaganda videos stating that these people love Trump, and then you kill them.
And then, on the morning of June the 3rd, a third consecutive shooting at the same location as people try to access the site for aid. This time, Gaza's health ministry reports 27 killed and nearly 200 injured. If it seems extraordinary that so many are ready to brave these risks, well, these are the stakes in Gaza right now.
هذه بركة دماء مغمسة لقمة هذه اللقمة مغمسة بالدم بالدم.
It's a bloodbath with bits of food soaked in it.
احنا بنروح بنموت وطخ وقذايف علينا وكوات كابتر بطخ علينا يعني هذا كله هذا موت.
And grief, children mourning their mother. Reem Zidan had already tried 4 times to get aid from the GHF site. She died in her 5th attempt to feed her family.
قيمة 3 شهور الدنيا محاصرة يعني طبعا مجبورين نروح. اليوم أمي بتقول لأخوي يما طملوا، أمي بتقول طملوا يما المهم زيك الحين أمي أخوي بلف ورا.
Children being shot in the head by the Israelis. We're supposed to be able to eat with dignity. You hear that?
For days now, the Israeli military has been condemning media lies, admitting only to firing warning.
So they're saying firing warning shots, only firing warning shots. Well, how come so many children and women and civilians are ending up with bullet wounds to the head? So are these accidental? So are these warning shots accidentally killing them? Strategically in the head, in the heart, in the lungs? Is it just accidentally, strategically killing them? Is that what you're saying? Is that culpable homicide?
Shots. On Tuesday, a change in approach.
There's some of these.
This guy is a particularly dirty scumbag. You know, there was another guy, what's his name? Elon Livy, younger guy. But this guy here is a British white fat cat. Now the kind of Israeli government spokesperson. And I think he was grilled quite nicely on Channel 4 by Krishnamurti. And this guy, listen to this guy. This guy is what they call a hatchet man, a professional liar. If you want to hire someone as a professional liar, look no further than David Mensa. This guy is a professional liar. Listen to him.
Suspects continued despite these warning shots, advancing.
He lies. You couldn't trust him to tell you the time, even if he worked in a clock factory.
Towards the troops in a threatening manner. Further fire was directed near these specific individuals.
But doubling down on the accusation that media were reporting Hamas propaganda without verification.
June 1st, Hamas claimed Israel had killed 31 people at an aid site in Rafah. The New York Times and others ran with it. Then we've released an Israeli drone footage showing that Hamas gunmen opened fire.
So you see what he's saying? Hamas gunmen opened fire. The exact lies that these guys, whenever the Israelis are caught out, there are three approaches they adopt. One, these bastards denied, like they did, with the ambulances a month ago, they denied. Or two, they basically state that the people who were killed are either killed because Hamas was using them as human shields, or three, they basically state it's a mistake that happens, or four, as you can now see here, they state that Hamas killed them. Lies. You can't. I mean, these guys are professional liars. Liars.
On the crowd. Now, did the media lead with that correction? No.
For good reason, as it turns out. That footage used in another government briefing is from a different location and time from.
See what he says. So he's talking about a media footage that released, which he says points to Hamas gunman shooting at the Gaza, what you call this, the humanitarian foundation sites, and he says it's Hamas. But then the image that he says that the image that they released will confirm that, which was then also confirmed by some of these other Israeli spokespeople. But then we realized that is not even at the site itself. You couldn't make up the lies. So listen to this.
Site in Rafah. The New York Times and others ran with it.
The lies.
Then we've released an Israeli drone footage showing.
We've released an Israeli drone footage showing
that Hamas gunmen
opened
fire
on
Now,
their people.
Did the media lead with that correction? No.
For good reason, as it turns out.
See, so for good reason. Why should the media go with a footage released by you, which was a lie? You lied, firstly, in lie number one, that it is Hamas. Lie number two, that you've got footage. And lie number three, that it was at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Lie number four, that they opened warning shots in relation to actual killings that they took place. I mean, it's lies upon lies upon lies upon lies.
That footage used in another government briefing is from a different location and time from Sunday's.
Different location and different time from Sunday's image. This is, how do you deal with liars? You tell me. How do you deal with liars?
Incident. Our colleagues in Gaza say the gunmen belong not to Hamas, but an armed gang selling stolen aid.
This is the point. It belongs to an armed gang selling aid. We'll come closely to who that armed gang is.
We challenged the Israeli Prime Minister's spokesman on our program.
Now, these warning shots were fired,
David, twice
now,
desperate people who have been starved for weeks have been shot at while trying to collect aid. You are terrifying the population of Gaza even more. They're too scared now to go to collection points because they know they could be shot at by the IDF.
So that is precisely the Hamas rhetoric that they want you to publish.
The UN is calling for a full investigation into the shootings and maintaining its criticism of the nature of the new aid mechanism. And all the while, Israeli airstrikes continue to rain down. Israeli ground forces expand their operations in the north, where 3 Israeli soldiers are confirmed killed on Tuesday. Israel's Prime Minister talks of the high price for achieving Israel's war goals. In Khan Yunis, more neighborhoods are subject to evacuation orders. For Gaza's civilians, the achievements of this war counted in increments of misery.
You catch that? I mean, this is basically what we're dealing with. This is essentially what we're dealing with. Now, I just want to raise the point about these gangs in New York, gangs in Gaza. Who are these gangs in Gaza? let's go to let's go to Times of Israel. Let's go to Times of Israel. Why Times of Israel? Because number one, I want to go directly from the horse's mouth so we can unpack the lies and propaganda. So, it's not that I want to go to, for example, Times of Israel or CNN or, Fox News, but sometimes you go to the enemy's mouthpiece, because then they can't accuse me of saying, look, it's biased material from Al Jazeera. This is from the Times of Israel. So I want to go to a report here. Let me share this report. Let me go to StreamYard again. I want to share this report. Let me go to here, share this report, and make a note of this. Make a mental note of this here. Here we are. Times of Israel. Brother Muhammad, if you can share the screen. Can you see a Times of Israel? Do we have it there on StreamYard? Are we there? Can we share the screen, Muhammad, on StreamYard? Times of Israel. I've just shared it. Muhammad, are you there? I am trying to share a screen. It appears that Brother Muhammad is not here. Yeah, you got it there? Here we are. Have you got it there? Yeah. Okay, no, that's fine. Here we are. This is from the Times of Israel. Have a look at this. Thanks, Muhammad. Israel providing guns to Gaza gang. This is a gang we're talking about to bolster opposition to Hamas. Security Cabinet. This is from a biased report, because it's talking about gangs. The gangs shooting in that picture that David Mensa was talking about, actually shooting. It was not Hamas. It was this gang here. This gang that was basically shooting and stealing aid, not Hamas. Security Cabinet wasn't informed plan to start arming Abu Shab, which was created in Rafah last year and has its roots in looting aid trucks. Not Hamas, gangs. These are the gangs, members of the Abu Shahab gang. This is ISIS. These are ISIS thugs. Israel has been arming, linked up to ISIS, has been arming a criminal gang in the Gaza Strip as part of an effort to strengthen opposition to Hamas in the Enclave Defense Forces state. What date is this? This is 5th of June, 2 days ago. Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed that the report stating that this helped save Israeli soldiers' lives. Wow, amazing. And then you've got this guy called Avigdor Lieberman, this psychopath Lieberman. You'll see his picture. He looks like a demon-possessed maniac. Lieberman, who heads the opposition Israel Betenu party, told the Khan public broadcaster on Thursday morning that Netanyahu had unilaterally I just want to share. Whilst I've got a thug that's basically sending me some material here. This guy's called Khairad. He's a local guy here. I hope he watches us, that we are live, because he's been sending me material nonstop, supportive of the Israelis. And I've asked him to get he's mentioned a chap called John Hopt. I don't know if you can phone this guy, John Hopt, Mohammed, but maybe we'll give him a call a little later. It's a chap called John Hopt, who's a pro-Israeli supporter. But just coming back to his report, Netanyahu stated that this gang saves Israeli lives. Told the Khan that Netanyahu had unilaterally approved the transfer of weapons to the Abu Shahab clan, an armed gang or militia that's Hamas, that's linked to ISIS, that is opposed to Hamas's rule in the Gaza Strip. I don't know what this report, whether this is a report here. Let's just see what this report states.
Now, that doesn't absolve us of our obligations. Hamas's inhumanity does not.
A delegation of
daily briefing.
Changed. What has not changed is.
This is from the Times of Israel.
But it.
So I don't know if they talk about this gang here.
Future.
Okay, this is a daily briefing from the Times of Israel. The Israeli government is giving weapons to a group of criminals and felons identified with ISIS. Look at this. Identified with ISIS. It just goes to show those of us, and we've been opposed to ISIS all the time. Imam Al-Asi, who we've had many times on this particular program, in 2015, he was delivering a lecture in South Africa. and the topic was ISIS, when ISIS was, really in the mainstream. And he was asking, he posed a question to the audience then, and to do some kind of self-introspection. And the question is that, and the issue that he was questioning and raising is that whenever you see a situation arising in the Middle East, whether it's the arising of a death cult or a group that you never know the background, a shadowy outfit, always check the Israeli connection. And he couldn't be more right. Here you have direct from the Times of Israel, folks, that the Israeli government is giving weapons to a group of criminals and felons identified with ISIS, the Islamic State, at the direction of the Prime Minister. For those of us who've been saying for years that ISIS is basically a front for the Israelis and the Americans, what do you claim here? And look what it's tied up to. He claimed that Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar, was aware of the decision to arm the group, but I don't know how much the IDF chief of staff was in on it. Amazing. Amazing. Look at this. People, look at this. This gang that has been killing Palestinians, and this gang has been looting food, and this gang is opposed to ISIS, to Hamas, and this gang has been killing Palestinians, and they use them as a means. And when this gang kills Palestinians, and in that video that we saw the shootings taking place, it was this gang here that is being backed by Netanyahu. And David Mensa, the thug, the liar, lied on record that it is Hamas, and that and he used this situation as an incident, pointing out to the killings that the Israeli Defense Force engaged in at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site. Not even a humanitarian foundation, the Gaza Death Foundation. That's what it is, Gaza Death Foundation. The group in question, which is sometimes described as a militia and sometimes a criminal gang, and this is from the, believe it or not, Times of Israel, is led by Yasser Abu Shahab, a member of a large clan in southern Gaza. It has been linked in the past to smuggling operations with Egyptian jihadist groups. That is, you call groups like Al-Gama al-Islamiyah, Ayman al-Zawahiri. We know these thugs. But it was not immediately clear why Lieberman branded it as linked to the Islamic State. ISIS, trying to backtrack here. Of course, it's ISIS. The gang had been documented in recent days operating in the area near the Kerem Shalom border crossing under Israeli military control. So the footage which showed the killing, which David Mensa wanted to show was the killing allegedly of Hamas, was the actual shooting at the Kerem Shalom border crossing under Israeli military control, which he then portrayed as a killing at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site when questioned as to why is it that the Israeli Defense Force is shooting Palestinians. Did you catch that? So in the footage, Abu Shahab clearly had the words counterterrorism mechanism emblazoned on them. These are the guys. These are the guys here. The Prime Minister's office said Israel was working to defeat Hamas. In a latest statement, Netanyahu confirmed the move. In the latest installment in the series of short interviews with Topaz, Netanyahu said, in Consa, we made use of clans in Gaza that opposed Hamas. And then he questioned, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? It's only good. It saves lives of IDF soldiers. Look at this. Using ISIS to save lives of IDF soldiers? Well, ISIS is basically an Israeli front. Publicizing it only does good. In a direct challenge to Hamas, Yasser Abu Shahab's Popular Forces militia has declared that large parts of eastern Rafah has been cleared of Palestinians, by the way. Shahab calls on residents to return the area for food, medicine, and shelter. Impressive, to kill them more. Because when they're going there, you're killing them. You're killing them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أخوتي يا جماهير شعبنا الفلسطيني قواتنا الشعبية تعمل تحت
ISIS language, guys. This is ISIS being supported by Israel in the time. We always spoke about conspiracy theories and ISIS is a death cult. Here's actual, and this is actual proof why I've been supportive of Hamas. I've been always opposed to these jihadi groups for years, in debates, in programs, and so on. But a group that is legitimate, will never be supported by the Israelis and the US. That's why Al-Qaeda was supported by the United States. They supported Al-Qaeda in Libya. In Libya, they supported him against Gaddafi. In Iraq, they opposed them. In Syria, they supported them. ISIS has always been supported by Israel. Listen to this. Listen to how the guy talks, Abu Shahab.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أخوتي يا جماهير شعبنا الفلسطيني، أن قواتنا الشعبية تعمل تحت غطاء الشرعية الفلسطينية الكاملة وبتوجيهاتها الرسمية وبالتنسيق مع الجهات الشرعية. ندعو أبناء وعائلات المنطقة الشرقية لرفح بالعودة إلى بيوتهم الآمنة، حيث تم توفير الدواء والغذاء والسكن الملائم والأمن والأمان. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
In league with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Couldn't make this up.
إلى جماهير شعبنا واقع ولا تزال تسعى للسيطرة على المساعدات. بالفعل يقطن المنطقة الآن مئات العائلات الشجاعة. إن وجودنا في مناطق يراقبها الجيش الإسرائيلي ليس خيارا بل اضطرارا إنسانيا لحماية العائلات وتأمين قوافل المساعدات والوفود الدولية والفراغ الأمني وغياب الحماية. القوات الشعبية ليست بديلا عن أحد، بل هي ضمير هذا الشعب الحي الذي يريد أن يحيا بحرية والفراغ الأمني.
Of this language. I mean, Quranic Arabic is something else, but I don't understand Arabic. But those who can mentions they're working with the Israelis. And what do you do? What do you do in a situation like this? Victor Lieberman was later confirmed by defense officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity, and the details were cleared for publication. The sources confirmed that Israel has been arming the gang with Kalashnikov rifles, including some that were seized from Hamas during the ongoing war. Since start, arming the group was made without the approval of Israel's security cabinet, foregoing normal procedure. It was instead led by Israeli security bodies with Netanyahu's approval, the defense forces said. The militia has been operating in Rafah, in an area under Israeli military control. Abu Shahab has claimed to be securing the humanitarian aid convoys entering Israel through the southern border crossings, although others have accused his gang of looting them. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, what do you do in a situation like this, guys? What do you do in a situation like this? Look at this. Sorry for the adverts here of betting and gambling, but we can't control it. It's not our channel. Times of Israel. For some reason it's gone, it's loading, but this is essentially the group. This is a group that we're talking about. This is a group. And I wanted to show, this is the Times of Israel. According to sources, some members of the group belong to an extremist Salafi faction. Hamas, I mean, that's ISIS. Extremist Salafi faction. ISIS, no question there. They're not Salafi, but they're extremist Salafi. Clearly ISIS. This is not the first time that Netanyahu has been involved in or accused of propping up burgeoning militias and terror groups to undermine the common. And they did that with Hamas when they attempted to use them as an asset, which backfired against them completely. And so this is we are entering, people. I don't know. I can't see the comments, but we are entering dangerous terrain. This is it here. You tell me what you make of this. People out there, you tell me what exactly you make of this. I mean, you couldn't make this up. Israel is providing support to ISIS and backing ISIS in relation to what it's doing. I think Mahdi Hassan in Zeteo, I think Zeteo pointed this out as well in Zeteo, that in his recent Zeteo piece, who is Abu Shahab? Meet the Gaza Gangster. There was an article in Zeteo Here we are here. This is Zateo's article. I want to share Zateo's article. Mahdi Hassan's excellent news channel since he's left MSNBC. If we can share this, Mohammed. If we can share this here from Zateo. If we can put that up, Mohammed, if we can put that on the screen. Yeah, thanks. Meet, who is Abu Shahab? Meet the Gaza gangster that Israel armed to counter Hamas. Netanyahu admits to supporting ISIS-linked Gaza gangs. And this is Zateo. You can accuse it for bias, but I started with the Times of Israel. So you can't accuse me of bias, and you can't accuse me of conspiracy theories. It's a right-wing publication. Not even, we've quoted from left-wing outlets like 972 Magazine, Yuval Abraham, and Ynet, and so on. This is from Times of Israel, right-wing, center-right publication. But this is Zateo, who have been accused of stealing you and have become a proxy to advance Israel's aims. That's a thug here. Why isn't he part of the resistance? Why isn't this thug, if ISIS were really genuine, wanting to start an Islamic, why they've never, ever provided any kind of resistance against the Palestinians? Because they've got no stand, they've got no base, no substance. They've got no religious background or backing. And that's why, and they in fact do engage in rape and massacre and mass murder and slaughter. The vast majority of their victims happen to be Muslims that they raped. Of course, they raped young Yazidi girls, no doubt. That's the rape that basically took place. You know, talk about real rape happening. This Israeli-backed organization, ISIS, did in fact engage in slaughter and rape and so on and so forth, and anti-Islamic behavior, not Hamas. So on Thursday, Israel's minister confirmed what we've been known for months. The Israeli government has been arming, financing, and providing protection to alleged ISIS-linked and criminal militias in southern Gaza. Southern Gaza, that's the actual place where the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is setting up. So when Israel kills these people, it can easily say Hamas kills these people, and then it introduced footages showing the Abu Shahab gang, the ISIS gang, killing Palestinians in another location entirely. The Israeli government claims it did this because any harm to the Hamas regime serves us. But a gang of 300 fighters, including untrained drug dealers, thieves, murderers, and radicals, cannot overpower Hamas's 30,000 militants. Realities on the ground indicate a far more nefarious scheme. Those gangs have become a proxy used to advance Israel's genocide, ethnic cleansing, and starvation policies. They are the very same gangs responsible for looting aid, assaulting humanitarian workers, reportedly collaborating with the US-backed Israeli Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and most alarmingly, establishing an encampment in eastern Rafah, the very area where the Israeli military is pushing all Palestinians in Gaza into and using loot as a bait to lure people. So it's like a fish. We had the sardines run here on the south coast where I am, about 160 kilometers from Durban. I don't stay in Durban proper. Durban's a major city. I live in about 160 kilometers away from Durban in a little seaside resort far out on the south coast of a place called KwaZulu-Natal, where the sardines run. Just today. And I'm not a professional fisherman, but I go sometimes fishing with my boys. And when you want to basically lure bait, what you give these fish that you want to catch, sometimes you get artificial bait, which is actually not food. And that's what's been happening now in Gaza. They're giving them artificial food which cannot even be cooked. And when the Palestinians are going to them, they're murdering them. It's to lure people to murder them. Who are these gangs? Where are they active? How is Israel using them? Last November, the Israeli newspaper reported that the Israeli military was allowing gangs in Gaza to loot aid and extort protection fees from drivers. Those looters were charging each truck a protection fee of $4,000 or taking over entire trucks and selling the aid in the black market. So, when next time the Israeli propagandists in the mainstream media speak about Hamas stealing aid, you know that people like Cindy McCain have confirmed that Hamas hasn't been stealing aid, but that it is these gangs that have been provided support by these Israelis that have basically armed gangs and have basically got them to engage in extorting and stealing aid. and the looting was happening at gunpoint whilst the Israeli tanks and soldiers were positioning just above dozens of meters away. These troops shoot to kill people upon the first sight of Palestinians. So it's either the Israelis shoot or they get these gangs to shoot. And then they blame Hamas. Amazing. And then they blame Hamas. This was the article in Hamas. The Israeli army is allowing gangs in Gaza to loot aid trucks and extort protection fee from drivers. That was in the Haaretz report. I see it hasn't been open here on Haaretz, but I just want to go back because I think I need to share that in relation to that. Where are we? Let me go back here. Let me go back here. So the troop Haaretz report, Cindy Buchanan has condemned Israel for firing or bombing aid convoys. It's clear that there's a collaboration between the looting gangs and Israeli authorities. Ahmed, is anyone in the chat that wants to come on? I want people to come here. Anyone that we have. Is there anyone in the chat? Come on and challenge this. Even more astonishing, according to an internal UN memo, those looting gangs establish military compounds from where they launch attacks. Military compounds set up by the Israelis. Now, you can do an entire book just on this issue, just on this particular issue. You know, this entire debacle that happened over the last week, you can write an entire book on this. Government considered putting these armed gangs behind them in charge of aid. So the government this is last November, government considered putting those very armed gangs and the clans behind them in charge of aid distribution. And they're doing that now with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This is despite the Israeli military admitting that some of the clans are involved in terrorism and some are even affiliated with extremist organizations like ISIS. We are now seeing the strategy play out in real time. What we've been saying months is happening, from criminals to mercenaries and collaborators. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I mean, what can you say after this? What can you honestly say after this? So this is the reality of the situation. I mean, you get speechless. You get speechless in relation to this. These gangs, which are ISIS, are being backed by Israel. I mean, nobody wants to come. No one will come on. I mean, anyone's got the guts to come on. Share this link. There's nobody that can come on. Nobody can. This is last article. We're going to close shop now. It is Eid al-Adha in South Africa. I don't know when your Eid was. It was Eid at least today. It's no longer Eid. The day starts in the night. So it was last night till before Maghrib, and now we're in a new day, similar to the Jews. But there's an interesting report in the Guardian newspaper. I want to share this article in the Guardian newspaper, from the Guardian newspaper. This is Iyad Emawi. This will probably be my last article, and we'll probably close up with Jeremy Scahill, who has been talking for years on these death cults and machines. But this is a brilliant article in the Guardian. Mohammed, we can share this. The last major article I think that I'll be sharing by Iyad Emawi. He's an aid worker in Gaza. And if you can see this article, those of you can read this, share this. And by the way, take this, screenshot some of these images and share it with your friends and neighbors and Jews and Christians, because we're giving you information. We try and go to the source. I don't think any other channel, well, I mean, there are channels better than us. I mean, I'm talking about those channels out there like Electronic Intifada, and as I've mentioned, check up Novara Media and Owen Jones and people on Channel 4 that have been doing. I mean, those are professional media outlets. This is not a professional media outlet. I'm a debater. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a I'm not a journalist in a professional sense, although I did do journalism at some level at university. I'm not a professional journalist as such. So, I mean, compared to most of the Dawah channels, we are trying to give you a lot of what you don't see. So this is a report by Ayad Amawi in the Guardian report, and he says, I've seen the reality of the new Israeli. It's nothing more than a deadly PR stunt. And 2 days ago, Israeli soldiers fired. This is penned on the 29th of May, so it's a bit earlier, last week, the week before last at least, fired on a massive. Some of them had walked. They were looking for help from the Gaza, a newly formed Israeli-backed logistics group that had distribution center in Rafah. Israel and GHF lost. Palestinians were shot and killed for seeking food, and dozens were injured. What the GHF is doing is nothing more than a public relations campaign. It is promoting the illusion that aid has begun entering the strip in a meaningful way. What we have learned is that the GHF only distributed 8 trucks worth of food on Wednesday. 8 trucks worth of food. What are we talking about? Moreover, a U.S. charity, Rahma Worldwide, stated that it couldn't get into Gaza and so allowed them to take into custody by GHF, as accused the organization of using its logo without permission in the aid distribution. Ultimately, there are tens of thousands of people across the Gaza who will not be able to reach the newly created centers. And those who are reaching it, you're killing them. 19 months, the catastrophe that we're experiencing would have been unimaginable. But, I mean, the scale of suffering, and you read this article here. You read this article here in terms of what is happening. It's beyond control. When they arrive there, they're killed.
امبارح رحت ووصلت هناك كان فيش نظام انا اخذت هويتي معي.
By the way, this is before the 31 people were murdered. This is on the 29th of May. In June, 1st of June, 2nd of before that, after that, more people were killed. So this is still early before they were murdered.
على اساس انه نمرق في طريقه منظمه، نستلم الكابونات في طريقه منظمه، نلاقي في نوع من الكرامه حتى طريقه منظمه.
My ID, because I thought there is an organized system which I would receive coupons.
نلاقي في
I then found people charging for the coupons, the gangs.
نوع من الكرامه حتى في استلام الكابونه. وصلنا هناك لقينا الناس
No system, we left hungry. What is this?
كلها هاجمه على الكابونات لانه فيش نظام اصلا وما اخذناش. ورجعنا مشينا تقريبا 10 كيلو.
They opened fire when the US and Israeli-backed logistics group running allegedly lose site control, and then they state that they're shooting warning shots. They killed
عشان سرقوا الكابونات طخوا الناس في رجليهم. عشان سرقوا الكابونات الجاع عليهم. ها نقلب لك اياها كمان ها.
Look at that. Look at what they're giving them. That's what they call pasta or spaghetti. How do you cook it? How do you cook the pasta? What do you do with it? How on earth do you cook it when your water is toxic, when you've got no cooking oil? How on earth do you cook? How do you give people dry flour and say you've given them food? Go and eat dry flour. Go and eat dry flour. And you tell me what happens to you. You get constipated. You can choke to death. What is that? That's the food you're giving them? I mean, what is this? Our Israeli settlers use Airbnb to profit from stolen. Well, we won't go into that. Gaza has been a fired, and every Gaza needs 500 to 600 trucks every day to meet. That's not even enough. How many trucks? 500 to 600 trucks to meet its humanitarian aid. How many trucks has been going through? How many trucks? Not even 8. 8 trucks. It's a drop in the ocean. So this is it, people. This is it. This is it. I mean, there's no words to describe this. We don't have anyone now in the group chat. Nobody's coming anymore. People basically don't want to come. They're afraid to come on, afraid to face the truth. There's no word to describe this. No word to describe what is basically going on. I mean, you saw the CNN report. You clearly saw the CNN report in terms of whatever. I might just play Democracy Now, leave you with Democracy Now's Jeremy Scahill, that basically plays out what is really happening in Gaza in terms of the weaponization of aid, because he gave quite a good assessment of really what's happening. But that's Jeremy Scahill. By the way, let me leave out Jeremy Scahill. It's a far more longer situation. What you've got here is basically something by this writer. He was interviewed by Democracy Now! What's his name? Iyad Amawi. So I'm going to probably end with playing him, and then we'll try and just show this for the short time. Okay, let me just try and get this here. I'm going to share this for the last time, and then we'll then end the stream after that. So let me just go to Democracy Now! It's a new shadowy group. Here we are. Mohammed, if you can just open the StreamYard link, and we play this out here. I've shared something, Mohammed. Yeah, we are. This is the author of the article earlier on.
Staying in Gaza with Iyad Amawi, coordinator for local NGOs there. Please be safe, Dr. Rose. His new piece for The Guardian is headlined, "I've seen the reality of the new Israel-backed aid for Gaza."
It's the article we just went through.
Nothing more than a deadly PR stunt. I wanted to thank you for being with us and ask you, if Iyad Amawi, if you can start off by talking about, the aid organization that has been this shadowy group, Israeli-U.S., not clear who the mercenaries are, often with their faces covered,
That's another point. If you look at these guys who are basically there, their faces are masked. Nobody knows who these guys are. It's like a mercenary Blackwater outfit.
Several.
So if you're going to go and deliver aid, if you don't have a hidden agenda, why you want to cover your face when you go out to soup kitchens and you feed the poor and the hungry and the needy? You're going to cover your face like a mask, walking around like a thug, unless you've got an ulterior agenda.
It's in Gaza.
It's not about aid. That's the point.
Explain what this is, what you wrote in The Guardian.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for hosting me. Appreciated your attendance in covering the reality and reflecting the ongoing suffering here. As you mentioned, and I mentioned in my piece in The Guardian, the GHF organization, it's not a real organization from my observation as an expert in the NGOs and coordination here. They made chaos, creative chaos, that they use it as a tool to increase the suffering. What I have seen yesterday and the casualties that come from the Rafah and from Netzarim access point also, a lot of casualties, they have starved for more than 90 days, and they went there to seek foods, and they surprised by the airplanes and the drones and bumping of smoking. That's a horrible time. As I witnessed here with a lot of peoples, the testimonies is horrible. Look, they use nothing exists over the ground when we compare their works with another UN organizations that are related to the international community. Nothing here exists over the ground. From my observation, they use this as a tool to increase suffering. You can imagine when the elderly people and the child here cannot achieve that long far paces, and with the danger and threaten their life to go to get some foods from there. A lot of thousands of people here will not get a chance to achieve any amount of foods, even though what they announce in the media and the fake Facebook pages. Our people here have recognized real reality. And there's no choice without the UN organization have to intervene directly with the unconditional let the aids to come into the Gaza. We haven't time. From my experts, from my statistics, I have the indication that more 60,000 children will die by this increasing suffering and by famine. There is no sweet waters here. So there is no time to accept the claimings for the GHF or
Look at these
other
guys.
parties.
Can you see these guys? Look at these guys here. Look at this. This is how look, these are mercenaries. These are mercenaries.
There is no time to accept the claimings for the GHF or other parties that they will distribute the food for 2.5 million people here in Gaza. The time is maybe ended at any time. Our children here come to the ER, as Dr. Victoria mentioned, with emaciated bodies. They haven't any ability to walk in the street. Look, from my testimonies, I swear, our children here haven't ability to walk just a few meters. So
they're coming there and there's no aid. And look at the pens that they've been kept in.
From my observation here, we haven't time to still waiting the GHF to establish another warehouses, and all of our NGOs community refuse to deal with them. I also they haven't any database, they have no system, no rules. Randomizing the distribution systems cause the chaos that is still happening at their stations. You can imagine when the GHF bought their warehouses, especially in Rafah, and Netzarim access, this is closed to the military bases that related to the Israeli occupation forces, and they protect them. What's happening yesterday at some massacres, adding to the previous massacres. This situation must stop now. The ceasefire must be implemented to enable us to save our children's lives and to our people's lives.
I mean, this is it. Look at these guys. I mean, this is not aid. So, you know, the program was called today Gaza Crisis, but it actually is not Gaza. It's how the shadowy group is basically weaponizing aid completely and utterly. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. It's weaponizing aid. It's destroying people. You know, I'm tempted to kind of play Jeremy Scahill, but maybe we can just have a look at him. Yeah, let's just check if I can basically play him here. Let's just get to Jeremy Scahill. I don't know if I can play Scahill. As we're talking, just 27 minutes ago, Israeli forces killed 8. Just right now, 8. About half an hour ago, Israeli forces killed another 8. Another 8 people were killed. I just see this news right now. Israeli forces kill 8. 27 minutes ago. Here we are. Let's see if I can get you another channel. ABC News. This is right now. It's right now at 8:41 p.m. Let me try and share this channel here. Jeremy Scahill. Where are we? I'm trying to just share this right now with you. This is just now. Do people know this? This is from ABC News. Can you see this? I'm going to just share this right now on the channel. If you can go to StreamYard, those of you can see this report on StreamYard. I've just shared this right now. This is the article on StreamYard from ABC News. Right now, 8 Palestinians killed by Israeli troops in shooting near aid distribution center. Now, Israeli troops shot and killed at least 8 Palestinians near him. near Gaza early Saturday, according to hospital officials. Right now, the deadly shooting occurred at Al-Anam roundabout near an aid center around 6 a.m. local time, according to the Health Ministry. The area is approximately 1 kilometer from an aid, which the IDF considers an active combat zone. What are you talking about? This is another lie, which is running aid closed without giving it. Palestinians remain at risk of extreme starvation and famine, as the other UN groups pointed. This is just right now. Right now. Gaza Humanitarian Fathers Death Organization not responded. It is aware of the report of casualties and doing what? It killed them. Night saying that the area is a combat zone during nighttime. Several suspects attempted to approach IDF troops in a manner that posed a threat. So now they're saying that these people posed a threat to troops. Liars. These are liars. Liars. How do you deal with liars? See what I'm saying? So that's all we have for this evening, folks. We're gonna close the stream. The more I see this, the more frustrated I get in relation to what's going on. And I mean, there's so much we can basically do and continue and go on with. But what do we do? What on earth do we do? So this is Saturday night. It's the evening after Eid in South Africa. We will continue keeping you updated about what's happening. We'll continue to keep you updated about these shadowy forces and outfits that's basically affecting Gaza, ISIS-like death cults. And we're going to continue the discussion, myself and Mohammed. Take the material, share it with others, discuss it, get the information, empower yourself and get the information. Someone says, please debunk Sahar TV. I'll check who this guy is, Sahar TV, whoever he is. They're more than willing to come on this platform. More than willing to come on this particular platform, Sahar TV. And we'll deal with them. And then, of course, we'll discuss this and other programs in the future. We're going to continue having these programs all the time. Till then, this is Yusuf Ismail from the South African Debate Initiative. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and greetings of peace to all of you, and have a blessed evening.
أشهد أن لا